From sovereignty to servitude, how the 14th Amendment, 16th Amendment, and Federal Reserve transformed the Republic into a corporate debt system. The transformation of the United States from a constitutional republic to a dual-entity system, functioning both as a Republican trusteeship and as a corporate entity, represents a seismic shift in governance, economic structure, and individual sovereignty. This article explores how the 14th Amendment, 16th Amendment, and Federal Reserve Act of 1913 collectively altered the constitutional framework, redefining the relationship between the federal government, the states, and the citizenry. By examining the legal, financial, and societal impacts of these reforms, this article highlights how the American people became the ultimate guarantors of a corporate debt system, with profound implications for taxation, citizenship, and governance. Introduction. The United States Constitution established a republic predicated on decentralized governance, state sovereignty, and the primacy of individual rights. Under this framework, the federal government was a trustee with limited enumerated powers. However, three key developments, the 14th Amendment, 1868, the 16th Amendment, 1913, and the Federal Reserve Act, 1913, fundamentally altered this balance. These measures introduced federal citizenship, direct income taxation, and centralized monetary control, shifting sovereignty from the states and individuals to the federal government. This article examines how these reforms, designed to address the challenges of Reconstruction, industrialization, and economic instability, also created a corporate entity operating parallel to the constitutional republic. Through this lens, the federal government's role as both trustee and corporate debtor emerges, with 14th Amendment citizens serving as the collateral underpinning this debt system. 2. The Constitutional Framework of 1789. The Constitution of 1789 established the United States as a republican form of government, characterized by decentralized sovereignty. Sovereignty resided with the states and their citizens, with the federal government acting as a trustee for limited powers. Enumerated federal powers, Article 1, Section 8, strictly enumerated federal powers, ensuring states retained significant authority. Taxation and commerce. Federal taxation was restricted to indirect taxes, tariffs and excises, or direct taxes apportioned among the states by population. This framework ensured that the federal government served the states and the people, safeguarding individual rights and natural sovereignty. Third, Reconstruction and the 14th Amendment. The aftermath of the Civil War necessitated significant legal and societal changes, leading to the ratification of the 14th Amendment in 1868. While it aimed to protect the rights of newly freed slaves, its implications extended far beyond its immediate context. A. Federal citizenship. The 14th Amendment introduced a new category of federal citizenship, distinct from state citizenship. This created direct federal jurisdiction. Individuals became subject to federal laws and obligations, including taxation and debt repayment. Privileges versus rights. Federal citizens were granted privileges and immunities rather than unalienable rights, marking a shift from natural sovereignty to a privileges-based framework. B. The Public Debt Clause, Section 4 of the 14th Amendment ensured the public debt of the United States shall not be questioned. This clause linked federal citizens to the obligation of repaying national debt, positioned the people as guarantors of federal financial stability. This marked the first significant shift toward a centralized system of governance and finance. The rise of the corporate federal government. The passage of the Act of 1871 formalized the dual-entity nature of the federal government. Creation of a municipal corporation, Washington, D.C., was incorporated as a distinct corporate entity, often referred to as the United States. Expansion of corporate powers. The federal government began to operate under corporate law, distinct from its constitutional role as a trustee. Dual structure. The United States functioned both as a constitutional republic and as a corporate debtor, setting the stage for future financial reforms. The Progressive Era and the 16th Amendment. The 16th Amendment, ratified in 1913, introduced a federal income tax. While it appeared to expand the federal government's taxing power, its implications were more nuanced. A. Excise tax on federal privileges. The income tax was an excise tax on federal privileges, such as the use of Federal Reserve notes introduced in 1913, engagement in activities tied to federal jurisdiction or benefits. B. Application to federal citizens' income taxation primarily applied to 14th Amendment citizens who were subject to federal jurisdiction. State citizens, under the original constitutional framework, would not have been inherently liable unless they engaged in federally regulated activities. V6. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913 and the debt economy. The Federal Reserve Act centralized monetary control, creating a system reliant on debt and fiat currency. A. Federal Reserve notes as privileges. The Federal Reserve introduced a fiat currency, Federal Reserve notes, initially backed by gold but later sustained by public trust and government debt. B. Monetization of debt. The Federal Reserve enabled the government to issue bonds with repayment guaranteed by future tax revenues from federal citizens. This created a perpetual debt economy reliant on borrowing, a system where the people's labor and income served as collateral for federal obligations. V6. The 1933 bankruptcy and Social Security. The Great Depression and subsequent abandonment of the gold standard in 1933 marked a turning point. National bankruptcy. The corporate United States assumed massive debts, transitioning to a fully fiat currency system. Social Security and federal enfranchisement. The Social Security Act of 1935 formalized federal citizenship by tying individuals to federal obligations through Social Security numbers. V8. The people as creditors. The cumulative effect of the 14th Amendment, 16th Amendment, and Federal Reserve Act made the American people the ultimate guarantors of federal debt. Tax revenue as collateral. Income taxes provided a reliable stream of revenue to repay public debt. Labor and productivity. The people's labor and income underpinned the credit system, positioning them as creditors to the corporate United States. IX. Conclusion. The corporate debt system. The transformation of the United States into a dual-entity system, functioning as both a constitutional republic and a corporate entity, fundamentally altered the nature of governance and citizenship. The 14th Amendment, 16th Amendment, and Federal Reserve Act created a framework where the people became the ultimate guarantors of federal debt. Federal privileges, such as the use of fiat currency, became the basis for excise taxation. Sovereignty shifted from the states and individuals to a centralized corporate system. This history reflects the transition from a republic based on natural rights to a centralized system of financial dependence, with far-reaching implications for governance, taxation, and individual sovereignty.